Java backend developer, core Java, Spring Boot, microservices, and AWS. So these are the questions which is asked in the interview. So I'm sharing the same with you. Explain singleton design pattern. So the answer is the singleton design pattern ensures that a class has only one instance throughout the application and provide a global access point to that instance. Typical requirements is private constructor, static instance, public static method to return the instance. So basic implementation is like public class singleton, private static singleton instance, private singleton, public static singleton, get instance. If instance equals to null, instance equals to new singleton, and then return instance. So however, this implementation is not thread safe. This is the basic implementation which is not thread safe. So in a multi-threaded application, two threads could simultaneously see instance equals to null and create two objects. How can singleton pattern be broke? There are several ways. First is reflection. Reflection can access the private constructor singleton dot class dot get declared constructor dot set accessible true singleton object 2 construct equals to constructor dot new instance. Now we can potentially have two instances. Second method is serialization and deserialization. Serialization stores the object state. During deserialization, Java can create a new object by passing the normal constructor. Object output stream out equals to new object output stream new file output stream obj.ser out dot write object singleton. When deserialized, object input stream in equals to new object input stream new file input stream obj.ser singleton obj2 equals to singleton in.read object obj2 can be a different instance. And third is cloning. If singleton implements clonable singleton obj2 equals to singleton obj1.clone, a new object can be created. Multiple class loader. Two different class loaders can load the same singleton class independently. Each class loader get its own copy of the static variable. Therefore, class loader A singleton.class instance A, class loader B singleton.class instance B. So the singleton guarantee is generally per class loader, not globally across the entire JVM ecosystem. Third question is how can you prevent singleton from being broken? Different attack require different solution. Reflection, throw exception from constructor, use enum, and serialization, read resolve. Cloning, override clone and prevent it. Multi-threading, thread safe, initialization, multiple class loader, difficult to guarantee globally. Serialization protection is private object, read resolve, return instance. While during serialization, protection is by declaring read resolve method. Then cloning protection, override protected object clone, throws clone not supported exception, throw new clone not supported exception. Best practical solution enum singleton, public enum singleton instance, public void do something, system.out.println working, use singleton.instance.do something. Why enum is strong? It's thread safe, serialization safe, JVM controls enum instance creation, constructor cannot be invoked normally through reflections, no explicit synchronization required. For interviews, we can say enum singleton is generally the safest simple answer. The right singleton implementation in Java. A good production initial implementation is the initialization on demand holder idiom. Public class singleton, private singleton, private static class holder, private static first singleton instance, new singleton, private static singleton get singleton, private static singleton get instance, return holder dot instance. This is the same instance which is calling here. So why is this good? The JVM initialize the static inner class only when get instance is called. Therefore, lazy initialization, thread safe, no synchronization overhead. Another option is public class singleton, private static volatile singleton instance, private singleton, public state a static singleton get instance. If instance equals to null, synchronize singleton dot class. If instance equals to null, instance equals to new singleton, return instance. Here volatile is important for correct publication with double check blocking. Explain hash map internal working in details. This is very important questions for 5 year plus interview question. Hash map internally uses hash map array of buckets, then node KV, then linked list, red black tree. Conceptually, bucket 0 null, bucket 1 is node in node, bucket 2 is node, bucket 3 is tree, then node. A hash map node contains approximately static class node KV, final int hash, final k value, v value, node KV next. When we execute map.put java 100, hash map approximately does calculate hash map gets key dot hash code Java HashMap also performs a hash spread mixing operation to improve distribution conceptually. Calculate bucket index for a power of 2 table length. The bucket is determined efficiently using n-1 and hash, where n is the table length. Check bucket. If the bucket is empty, bucket not Java. If another key exists there, hashmap checks hash and then equals. Step 4, collision. If different keys land in the same bucket, bucket 5, node A, node B, node C, this is a collision. In Java 8, sufficiently large collision chains can be converted into a red bucket tree, red black tree. Why is hash code important in hash map? Hash code determines the bucket where an entry is stored. For example, key.hashcode, hash is spreading bucket index bucket. The important context is if two objects are equal, according to equals, they must return the same hash code. Correct. A equals B equals to true must imply A dot hash code equals to B dot hash code. But the reverse is not required. Two different objects can have the same hash code. What happens when two objects have the same hash code? That's called a hash collision. Example, key A hash 100, key B hash 100. They go into the same bucket. Hashmap then uses equals to determine whether they are actually the same key. Bucket key A, key B. If key A equals key B is true, the existing value is replaced. If it's false, both entries remain. Why it is difficult initial capacity and load factor? Why it is default initial capacity and load factor? For Java HashMap, default initial capacity is 16 and default load factor is 0.75. Threshold is approximately capacity into load factor, therefore initially it's 12. When the number of entries crosses the resized threshold, HashMap grows. Important nuance: the default constructor does not necessarily allocate the 16 buckets table immediately. Table allocation happens when the map is first used. What happens during hash map resizing? Suppose capacity 16, load factor 0.75, threshold 12. When resizing occurs 16 to 32, the table capacity approximately doubles. Entries needs to be redistributed according to the new table size. Java optimizes this process because when capacity doubles, an entry generally either stays at the same index or move by the old capacity. This avoid recalculating everything from the scratch. Why resizing is expensive? Because many entries needs to be reorganized. Therefore, if you know approximately how many entries you need, specifying an appropriate initial capacity can reduce unnecessary resizing. Why was linked list replaced with red black tree in Java 8? Technically, Java 8 didn't replace linked list generally. It changed hash map collision handling from a linked list to a red black tree when the bucket becomes sufficiently large. Before, bucket node. Searching cloud become ON with treeification node. Search becomes approximately O log n. Java uses threshold to avoid converting small list unnecessary. The commonly cited purification threshold is 8 with additional capacity conditions. Also, HashMap generally requires a sufficiently large table, commonly at least 64 before purification, otherwise it prefers resizing. Query optimization techniques, common SQL optimization techniques, proper indexing, create index IDX customer email on customer email. Avoid select. Instead, select ID, name, email from customer. Filter early. Select a star from order where customer ID equals to 100. Avoid unnecessary joins. Only join table that are actually required. Use pagination instead of select a star from orders. Use select a star from orders limit 50 offset 0. For very large database, key set cursor pagination can be better than large offsets. Analyze execution plan. PostgreSQL explain, analyze, select. MySQL explain, select. Avoid functions on index columns where they prevent index use. For example, instead of where lower email equals to abc@test.com, depending on the database index design, use an appropriate functional index or normalized search column. Database connection pooling. In Spring Boot, Hikari CP is commonly used. Batch operations, instead of inserting one record at a time, use batch inserts. Avoid n+1 queries. Very important with JPA Hibernate. How do you identify slow SQL queries? I normally use several approaches. Database side, use explain, analyze to inspect sequential scans, index scans, join strategy, estimate versus actual rows, execution time, sort operations monitoring. Use database monitoring tools and slow query logs. For example, query execution time 4.8 second, analyze execution plan, identify full table scan, add adjust index, retest. Application side, monitor API response time, DB latency, connection pool utilization, query execution time, number of queries, request. For Spring Boot application, tools such as micrometer actuator and observability systems can help correct API latency with database behavior. Why should select star be avoided in production queries? Example, select star from customer problem, unnecessary data. You may only need ID, email, name, but retrieve 20 columns. More network traffic. Database application transfer unnecessary data. More memory. Application has to hold unnecessary data. Index only scans can become harder. Selecting unnecessary columns may prevent the database from satisfying the entire query entirely from an index. Schema changes. If a new column is added, select star automatically starts returning it. Better select ID, name, email from customer. Differences between Bean Factory and application context. Both are Spring IOC containers. Bean Factory functionality, dependency injection, bean creation, bean life cycle. Context provides everything Bean Factory does, plus additional enterprise feature. Bean Factory is basic DI, application context is advanced DI. Basic container, full featured container. Lazy initialization, commonly associated eager singleton creation by default. Limited enterprise features, events. Limited integration, I18N. Basic AOP integration resources, etc. Why is application context preferred in Spring Boot? Spring Boot application normally use application context because applications commonly need dependency injection, configuration, application events, profiles, environment properties, message sources, and integration with Spring ecosystem, Bean lifecycle management. Example, at the rate AutoWire private application context. In Spring Boot, you generally don't manually create a context. Spring Boot creates and configure it for you. Explain at the rate transactional. At the rate transactional, define a transaction boundary. Example, at the rate transactional, public void place order, order repository dot save order, payment repository dot save payment, inventory repository dot update inventory. Ideally, these operations participate in the same database transaction. If an unchecked exception occurs, order saved, payment saved, inventory failed, then rollback. So the transaction provides atomicity for operations participating in that transaction. What happens internally when at the rate transactional is used? This is a strong interview question. Spring generally uses AOP proxies. Conceptually, client Spring proxy, begin transaction, actual method, commit, rollback. Example, at the rate transactional, public void, transfer money. Spring creates poses a proxy around a bean. When a method is called, proxy intercepts method call, transaction interceptors starts join a transaction, target method executes. If successful, commit. If configured, rollback, exception occurs, rollback. Transaction resources are cleaned up. Important interview point. Spring defaults proxy based transactions handling means self invocation can bypass the proxy. For example, public void method A, method B, at the rate transactional public void method B. Calling method B directly from the same object may not trigger the transactional proxy. Why is Saga pattern needed? In microservices, a business transaction may span multiple services. Example, order service, payment service, inventory service, shopping service. You generally don't want one distributed database transaction across all services. Saga provides distributed transaction management using a sequence of local transaction plus compensating actions. Explain Saga pattern with a real world example. Consider an e-commerce order. Create order, reverse inventory, process payment, create shipment. Suppose payment succeeds but shipment creation failed. We can't simply roll back payment using a normal database rollback because payment is handled by another service. Saga perform a compensating action. Order created, inventory reversed, payment successful, shipment failed, refund payment, release inventory, cancel order. Two common Saga implementation choreography. Service communicate through events, order created, inventory service, inventory reserved, payment service, payment completed. Orchestration. A central Saga orchestrator tells service what to do. Saga orchestrator order, inventory, payment. When would you choose Saga over distributed transaction? I would choose Saga when multiple microservices participate. Each service owns its own database. Long running business transaction exist. Eventual consistency is acceptable. We want loose coupling. Distributed asset transactions could be expensive or unavailable. Example, order, payment, inventory, shipping. Saga is usually more suitable than trying to maintain one ACID transaction across all these independent owned services. Trade-off. Saga introduced complexity, eventual consistency, compensation logic, failure handling duplicate events, order issues, idempotency requirements. So Saga is not automatically better. It's useful when the business process naturally span service boundaries. Explain garbage collection lifecycle. Java GC manage objects that are no longer reachable. Simplified lifecycle, object creation, young generation, minor young generation, GC, surviving objects, old generation, major old GC. Modern collectors can have different algorithm and phases, so this is the conceptual model rather than a universal exact sequence. Typical flow. New objects are generally allocated in a young generation, Eden, minor generation, survivor spaces, eventually promoted old generation. Long-lived objects tends to promote to the old generation. Then the 23rd. How does an object becomes eligible for garbage collection? An object becomes eligible when it is no longer reachable from the garbage collector route. Example of garbage collector route includes active thread static references, JNI references, JVM internal references. For example, employee equals to new employee equals to null. If no other live reference points to that employee object, then employee object is no reachable reference eligible for GC. Important. Eligible for GC doesn't mean it is immediately garbage collected. The JVM decides when if collections occurs. Difference between minor GC and major GC. Minor young garbage collector primarily clean the young generation. Usually more frequent, shorter, clean newly allocated objects. Many objects die young. Major old garbage collector primarily involves the old generation. Usually less frequent, potentially more expensive. However, terminology varies between collectors and JVM versions. In modern Java, it's better to discuss the actual collector and its space rather than treating major GC full stop the world collection as universally true. What is blue-green deployment? Blue-green deployment maintains two environments, load balancer, traffic, blue and green, version 1.0, version 2.0. Suppose blue is current production and green is newer version. Deploy and test green, then switch traffic before users blue, after users green. So very fast rollback, minimal downtime. Advantages are very fast rollback, minimal downtime, easy validation. If green fails, users blue. Disadvantages, you typically need infrastructure for two environments. How does Docker help with environment consistency? Without Docker, developer machine Java 17 Node X library Y, production Java 21 Node Z library Y. This can cause it works on my machine. Docker package the application with the runtime environment and dependency. Docker image application runtime dependency configuration structure. The same image can run in developer testing, staging, production. Example, Docker file. From Eclipse, Tamarind 17 JRE, work directory app, copy target app.jar, expose 8080, entry point Java, jar app.jar, build docker build -t is order service 1.0, run docker run p 80 order service 1.0. What are the benefits of containerization in microservice architecture? Suppose we have order service, payment service, inventory service, shipping service. Each can have its own container, order container, payment container, inventory container. Benefits: isolation, each service runs independently, consistency, same image across environments. Scalability, you can scale only the service that needs more capacity. Order 5 containers, payment 2 containers, inventory 8 containers. Fast deployment, containers start quickly compared with traditional VMs. Portability, the same container image can run on different infrastructure. Resource efficiency, containers generally share the host OS kernel, make them lighter than full VMs. Easy orchestration tools like Kubernetes can provide service discovery, scaling, load balancing, self-healing, rolling deployments, configuration, secret management. The question I would expect interviews to go deeper on: for 5+ years of Java backend, Spring Boot, microservice, AWS role, don't stop at the above definition. Be ready for the follow-up around these areas, which are core Java, hash map, equal hash map, concurrent hash map versus concurrent hash map, fail fast versus fail safe, immutability, Java 8 streams, completable future, and in Spring Boot, it's dependency injection, bean lifecycle, application context, AOP, transactional, propagation, isolation, rollback rules, microservice, API gateway, service discovery, microservices, Kafka, Saga, idempotency, and distributed tracing. ADS, for this particular JD, I would also prepare EC2, ECS, EKS, Lambda, and S3. RDS, DynamoDB, SQS, SNS, API Gateway, CloudWatch, IAM, IAM, VPC, ALB, Auto Scaling, Secret Manager, CloudFormation, Terraform, B6. One particularly important senior level point, if they ask how would you design a production grade order management microservices, you should able to connect almost everything above. API Gateway, Order Service, PostgreSQL, RDS, Outbox, Pattern, then inventory service, payment service, shipping service, is Kafka, then it's Saga, compensation, observability, CloudWatch, tracing. That kind of end-to-end architecture answer is what usually separates the 5+ years of experience candidate from someone who only knows individual definitions. So this is all for today. These are the questions which is asked. Thanks for watching.